If you're getting into the HF digital modes, and there's so many of them out there, and you're trying to figure out which one should I choose, well, this is one of my top choices. It's called VarAC. Why? Well, first of all, easy to set up, has a lot of features and functions, very, very rich. However, there is one downside to it. It has so many features and functions, it can be overwhelming trying to figure out how to use this app. So if you're looking for someone to take you step by step, walk you through, make it simple, shorten your learning curve, in order for you to get up and have fun, then you have to watch this video. So if this sounds of interest to you, let's get started. Hey, this is MJ, call sign KW3KW, and welcome to another episode of Ham Radio Made Simple. I'm continuing my series on ham radio for prepping. This is episode number 10, and I'm going to be focusing on the digital HF mode VarAC. Is it something you should consider? Absolutely. So if you're getting values from these videos, please hit the like and the subscribe button. And I just want to give a shout out to all those who have been giving me some great comments and positive feedback. I really appreciate it, especially in light. I apologize for not putting out videos sooner, but I've had a lot of health issues over these past year, a lot of surgeries, and hopefully I'm back in the seat and being able to record more videos for you all. So let's talk about what I'm going to go over today. What is VarAC? Talk about the moving pieces, and there are a lot of moving pieces. This is probably the most feature-rich, complicated HF digital app that's out there today. And so I'm going to try to break it down. It took me a long time to do this, to break it down, step by step, line by line, precept by precept, so that you can understand this and get up and running a heck of a lot faster than it took me to learn this thing. I'm going to go over setup. I'm going to go over the features. I'm going to do a short demo. And if you stay to the end, I'll show you how you can get my user setup document, and I'll do a quick summary. So right off the bat, what is VarAC? Well, think of it as a keyboard-to-keyboard HF. Doesn't have to be HF, but I'll be going over the HF side of this. QSO. So it's a fast chat, and it's great for random calls. If you're doing CQs, it works great. There's a lot of activity that's out there. For those who are looking to use HF Digital and have activity, this is the one you really want to try. For prepper side of me, I have to learn how to do the directed calls because I have friends out there that all throughout the country that we are practicing and trying to direct calls to each other using this application. And the more we learn about it, the more we like it. One of the things it does really well is email, or they call it Vmail in their particular case. You can do general broadcast messages similar to JSA call, all call messaging, and I'll get more into that, and I'll break all this stuff down, line by line for you later. It sends files, it sends images, and power output, it can be anywhere from like 5 watts up to 50 watts, depending on your signal to noise ratio, your SNR reporting, as well as, if you're trying to do a directed call versus a CQ call, propagation, all of that stuff. So just think of it as 5 to 50. If you're doing CQ, it's going to be more on the lower end. If you're doing more directed calls, it's going to be on the higher end. So essentially what you're looking at here is an HF peer-to-peer real-time chatting application. Now what it uses the VarHF protocol, or it could be the one again I'm showing you, because you can actually use this with the VARA FM. So the software app, the VarAC, controls the rig, the frequency, the transmitting, and the mode. And it uses the Pactor protocols. It's similar to the signal-to-noise expectations on your levels with the FT8. And it actually can do, they call it a ping. It actually can do what an FT8 does, but doesn't look as clean and neat. So again, I'll break this all down to you. The upside of it is packets, so that you're guaranteed if it does go through, you're going to get 100% transmission. The downside on it is packet, and you won't get anything unless 100% of the transmission goes through. Blessing and a curse on that one. It's going to keep retrying under poor band conditions, and what that means is it's going to lead to a longer transmit time or even timeouts. So just trying to set your expectations here. Now, when we look at today, I'm going to be showing the VarHF mode in here, and the function of that is audio tuning. So your mode, VarHF, your software application, VarAC. You have to have those two to work together. And the function of the VarHF is audio tuning on that. Now, you can do this on the HF with the VarHF, or if you want to use the UHF, VHF, you can download the VarFM with the VarAC. It will work on both of them. And for those who are really advanced out there, actually can do VARA satellite. Pretty cool stuff. So how good is VarAC? I think it's going to be one of the top 3 choices for digital people out there today. One, just on the people using it, but it's so rich in features that are out there. It's really nice. So this is what it looks like, the screen, and it has, you can see it's very complicated. It has a lot of different options that you can use. Now, it's fast, pretty fast. If it's below, minus 10 dB, and boy, I tell you what, if you're at 0 dB or plus 5 dB, this thing is lightning fast. But it starts to wane at about minus 10 dB, and if it goes minus 15 dB, it's spotty at best. It's rich in features. There's a long learning curve, and hopefully after today's video, I cut that learning curve down by 2/3. And this is something you're going to need to practice, and there's so much information, and I apologize on that. I know a lot of you write back and say you have to watch it 2 or 3 times, but hopefully from one site, I can give you all the information you need to really use about 90% of this application, and it has a lot of functions. So again, it requires you have to download the VarHF, and so the HF is the transceiver. On the HF transceiver, your bandwidth is going to be around 500 hertz. There's a free license that'll give you 170 bits per second. If you upgrade to the VarHF tactical or full license, you're going to get about 1,500 bits per second. So strongly recommend that. I'll put a link in the description below on the site to do that, as well as the video that I did on VarHF WinLink, and I went through all of that, how to do all that stuff. So again, download the latest version of VarHF, and it works on Windows or Linux. And again, a key requirement is patience, practice, and watching this video probably multiple times, or other videos that are out there that are pretty good, but they only give you pieces of it. So if we look at the download site, and this is the link in the description below, this is what you're going to get. This is the VarAC right in here, web page. It pulls up. They're going to want you to first make sure that you're using the current version of the VarHF, which at this time, June 3rd, 2023, is 4.7.2. So bottom line is, make sure you're using the latest updated version of VarHF. And by the way, the VarAC updates a lot, and they keep adding new features and functions all the time on it. So just be aware of that. So by clicking on this link right in here, up's going to pop this, and you go to this website's going to allow you to be able to download the VarHF, or if you want to do the VarFM, right in here. That's the site of the latest versions. If you scroll down to the bottom of the VarAC page, you're going to get this at the very bottom left-hand corner. So staying on this page, scroll down, enter your name, your call sign, your email address, hit the download, and off to the races. So once you get it all set up and you're downloaded, make sure that you probably reboot your computer. I just do that anytime I'm doing a lot of applications on that. And if this is your first intro into digital HF, watch some of my other videos because I talk about how to set up your sound card, all of that stuff, especially on FL Digi. I go in more in detail how to do that. So if you already know how to do it, you're all set to go. If you don't know how to do it, link will be in the description below. Watch that video, and I walk you through how to go into Device Manager and set everything up. So VarHF comes up first, and what you want to do is go to the VarHF setup, and what you're going to get is this. Now, if you've been already using VarHF and you bought your license, it automatically forwards in the registration key code. If not, you haven't done this before, you're going to have to put in your call sign, and you can see what the settings are right in here. But strongly recommend paying for the upgraded tactical license with VarHF. So you also want to make sure that you turn the monitor off. So you want to go up here in the VarHF under monitor, turn that off. Why? Because it won't send data to VarAC unless it's turned off. It has to be on the on position to send data. You just receive. You won't be able to send any information out. I used to just kind of dismiss the screen. Okay, it's up and running. I got it set. Move on. Not so much anymore today. I tend to want to look at 2 things here. I'm going to look at the waterfall here, and I want to look at the bits, per second right in here. How well am I transmitting? How well is it going? The other thing, just to, again, a little common suggestion here, is turn the volume up a little bit on your rig so you can hear signals going back and forth. So if you're sending a signal, you want to make sure you can hear it going out, and you want to make sure that you can hear a signal coming in. So again, this is why you want to look at this stuff, because sometimes there's an issue, and if you're not looking at these other tools that are just right in front of you, you're going to be missing what the issue might be. So when we open up the VarAHF and we go up under settings, the sound card. To those who have VarAHF WinLink up and running, nothing new to you. To those who are using this for the first time, make sure that you put the microphone, the USB audio codec, in both your microphone and speaker. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to hit the tune button. You're going to look at your rig, and you want to adjust your ALC. Now, VarAHF says 1/3. I would not go past 1/3. Matter of fact, I would probably tend to drift more toward the lower end of this. I know some people just do it just slightly above the ALC or just barely showing. So anywhere from here to 1/3, no more than 1/3 up. When you first launch VarAC, you won't get this screen. You will every time after. Instead, what you're basically going to get is this screen's going to pop up first, and it's going to require you to put in your call sign, your grid locator, basic where your location is, your name, etc. And, hit save and exit. Then the other screen will pull up. So from that point on, to get back to this screen, you're going to have to go to the main screen, under settings, under my information, and this is where you can find it. Now, understand all the information on my information is going to be used in my canned responses. Think of it as mini macros. So when I send a welcoming message, it's all that stuff is going to be included in it. So let's look at cat control settings under ICOM 7300, direct cat control. Again, you launch VarAC, go to settings, go to rig control, configurations, and this should pull up. So what I'm going to want to do is hit the cat. I'm going to make sure that my COM port is correct, my baud rate is correct. Remember what's in my rig, what's in the software, and what's in my USB driver under Device Manager. For Silicon Labs USB driver, they all have to match. The baud rate has to be in there, and yet you just right mouse click on that baud rate on the Silicon Labs information. You're going to go under Properties and under Port, and this is where you're going to put in to make sure that 3800 is there, 3800 is here, 3800 is the rig. That's the one I choose. You can choose 19.2, 115, 500 or whatever it is. Whatever COM port, they all have got to be the same, and your baud rates have all got to be the same. So next, hit the push the talk on, and your rig should engage. Your transmission should go on. You can turn it off. That means, okay, the transmission part is working. I hit the test button, and let me back up here. I hit the test button, and if my rig is in data mode, this should switch over to 7.105 on my rig, which means now I have rig control. Antenna tuner, it's your choice, on or off. The problem is if you're doing any kind of manual slot changes, it's going to set your tuner off in a crazy spin cycle. Because let's say if I go from slot 5 to 1, it's going to keep, every time I go 4, 3, 2, 1, it's going to try to tune it all the time. It doesn't work well. Leave it on if you're just doing CQ calls and you're not manually switching the slots and you're doing more of the automated process, which I'll explain later. Then you can have it on, but for me, I just leave it off. Relay on the Vmail here. If you want to allow yourself to be able to relay Vmails to others, this is where you need to make sure you put that on. I leave that on because a group of us relay messages back and forth through each other. Also over here on the right side, auto disconnect, standard is 5. I changed mine to 10 in the beginning just to give me more time so I don't get auto disconnected. You want to make sure the skip band is checked. I'll get into how you can change frequencies in a direct contact without having to do anything. It's really beautiful way of doing it. Most people don't know about that feature. But check that while you're doing it now so it'll make sense and you'll be able to use it later. And then hit the save and exit. Very similar setup on the FL rig. The difference is you're going to go with FL rig instead of a direct cat control. You're going to want to do the same thing. Push the talk on, push the talk off to see if your rig is able to transmit. You're going to want to make sure that you're in USB data mode and hit the test. Your rig should change over to 7.105, so that means rig control is working. Auto disconnect here, as I'm just showing you, typically when it defaults to, it's 5 minutes. If there's a failure point on this and you set up your files and it can't find the ADFI file, you'll get an error message in here. Just make sure that when you're unzipping your files, for me, I basically go to my C drive, I set up a new folder, VarAC, I unzip it there, and I keep everything operating in that one file. It's easy. It's easy to find. It's not in a document or whatever. Best practice, and you won't have that problem. Again, save and exit, and off we go. So if you go if you want to edit the frequency drop-down list, again, under settings, you go down to edit frequency drop-down list. important thing to take away from the slide is these are the main calling frequencies, and this is where you do a CQ and your beacons. You cannot do a CQ or beacon on a slotted channel. It has to be the main calling frequencies. But I can move to, once I get connected, you have to move off the main calling frequencies to free it up and go to 1 through 5, 11 through 15 on the different channels. So I just want to show you an example here. Here is, for example, I'm on slot, okay, my calling frequency is 7.105. I moved all the way over to the right, that's slot 15. All the way over here would be slot 1, so slot 15. And my frequency is 7.108.750. So that's the frequency within the main calling frequency based on the fact that I'm on slot 15. If I want to get back to the main calling frequency, I can just hit this little return arrow, and this should drop me back to 7.105. A lot of information, but again, once you get used to using this, that's why I keep saying practice on this. Now, when you do add additional calling frequencies, you're going to see them in here. They're going to show up. A lot of times you have to close the program and reopen it to show up the changes that you put in here. And I'm going to walk you through on how to do this. But again, this is going to show you more than these channels or frequencies. They're going to give you a lot more. So if you walk away from the slide, remember, for CQs and beacons, you got to use the main channels, which have the high activity. And if you add new channels, you got to know which the main calling channels are if you're looking to do a CQ on those main channels where the high activity resides. So the only reason you're adding additional frequencies is for direct contacts with other people. So typically this is what a screen would look like here, and we're going to start to break this down. But my one point is this: it does not have a transmit button to hit. You just hit the enter key on your keyboard and it sends the messages. Now let's kind of like break down the screen, and then I'm going to break down the functions following this. So just real quickly, the connect, if I want to do a direct connect with somebody without having to go anything, I can either just type in their call sign in here, or if I've spoken to them in the past, had a QSO with them in the past, hit the drop-down menu, select that call sign, hit the connect button, and the QSO is going to request it. If they're on the air with them, we should get connected and we're good to go. Next is, here's the slider button to move back and forth to change your slots. Again, must be on a main channel to do CQ or beacon. I'm going to keep driving that through your head because that was a problem for me. There's a lot of quick help functions. You can, in the setup, you can hit the question mark and it gives you a quick explanation, or just hold your cursor and take your mouse, put the cursor over call CQ or next beacon. And information will pop up and only holds for about 6 to 10 seconds. You can read it, and it basically is a help menu along the way. So a nice intuitive way they have brought in a help menu without having to go out and try to find information about what they're talking about. Right mouse clicks for shortcuts. Again, you can either do this, again, multiple ways to skin this cat or peel a banana. If I just right mouse click on either a call sign in here or in here, it's going to give me 6 or 7 options what to do. And again, I'll break all of this stuff down. So again, let's move on. These are your beacon and CQ windows. You'll be spending a lot of time focusing your eyes over here. This is what you're looking at. If you want to be doing Vmails or emails, you're going to be looking over in the top right corner. This is the read-only area. So if we look in here, and I'll pull this up, you can see blue is basically what is incoming, red is outgoing. Transmit and receive is the blue. It gives you a signal-to-noise ratio report. So, Jim's getting me at -4, I'm getting him at +4, is what you see on that. So, by the way, I did, when you get this, it's evenly split. So I just take this till I get the double arrow, move it up and shorten it, because you're not going to get many general broadcasts. So make that window as small as possible and open up the read window more. I'm away. What's nice about that is I can leave my system on. I can still relay messages. I can still get Vmails. I can leave that on, but I'm not getting CQ'd. People, if they try to CQ me, it's going to tell them I'm away, but they like to leave me a voicemail message. So great tool to have out there to be able to use to, if you're expecting information and you want to not be bombarded by a bunch of other people, it's basically saying, I'm here, but I'm not taking messages, but you can leave me a Vmail. Really nice. Hit the mute and sounds. I'm telling you, this thing can be a positive if you're away from it and you're waiting to hear, like if someone's trying to give you a CQ and you're maybe just stepped away from your computer. It's nice to let you know, but if you're at your computer, turn it off, because it's like AOL. You've got mail can be very annoying when I can actually see things happening in front of my screen. So basically, step away, and you want to find out what's going on, turn that on. Otherwise, leave it off. Canned messages are down here in the bottom area, and those are, again, the mini macros. Your typing area is down here at the very, very bottom. This is where you type your message. You do not type your message up in the blue area, light blue area. You type your messages down here. And for logging information, this is what you're going to see pop up: call sign, the band, the name, all this. If you like logging this information, which my buddy, KO4UGF, Jim does, this is where you're going to see it. And he has it set up to log all of his calls. So let's talk about random versus directed calls. There's a big difference in performance. It's easy to do a random call. And if you want to do a random call, this is where you're going to use the CQ button and the beacons. And you can pick the people up in the top right-hand corner that was in the green. Pick a lower dB to have greater success. Remember, typically minus 15 or greater, forget it. You're wasting your time, I think. Unless it's an unusual call sign you really want to try to connect with, because it's packet. It has to have 100% hit. I would definitely look for someone, for example, at 00, or even -7, -10. You should be able to pick somebody up. A lot of activity, 20 meters daytime, 40 meters nighttime is really busy. Doing directed calls, you want to definitely add your own frequencies, and you want to go to the unused portion of the bands. You want to go 30 meters, 60 meters, and 80 meters. Those are great ones for directed calls. Now you have to understand the main logic on here. The main calling channels are the initial connection. Get the initial connection and move to a subchannel. That's what they're trying to basically get you to do. So once connected, move to a slot. There's slots 1 through 5, 11 through 15, 750 hertz apart. So here, once we got connected at 7105, we moved to slot 11. And you can do it manually through the slider, or a better way I'll show you here in just a second. Note that the system does time out. If there's any inactivity, you're not doing anything, it's kind of like a screensaver, 5 minutes from time of setting, off you're kicked off. If you're on the main channel too long, I think it's about 2 or 3 minutes, you're kicked off. It's going to give you a warning that you have to move. If you want to QSY in a different slot, go ahead and do it. Otherwise, it's going to kick you off to free it up. And it's a good feature that they do. So you don't get people, hogging a particular channel. They want you to move to the other sub-channels within it, which is a great feature. On the main calling channels, there's additional calling frequencies, and this is what you do. You go under Settings, Edit Frequency drop-down list, and you start adding the frequencies in. And you can see I've added quite a few, and I love it. And I send those frequencies in a list to my other friends, and they all load them into theirs. And so we can basically say, hey, instead of trying to manually add it in, we can say, let's drop down to 1.855 and connect, versus go ahead and take the time and enter it in. So again, write down the main calling frequencies so you don't get them confused with your own personal ones. Now, direct calling, we're going to add these frequencies, create your own lists. You're going to find less activity. This is going to be where you're going to want to send files. This is where you want to have group nets. And it's particularly what you want to do is not only have a particular call frequency, but a slot within that, your own personal frequencies to do all of this. And you're going to find, again, less activity. So again, when you make these changes in here, you got to close and launch the program again. A beacon, love this function. Similar to the JSA call heartbeat, goes off every 15 minutes, though you can kick it sooner by just basically clicking on send a beacon. You have to hit it once, wait a few seconds, and hit it again, and an automatic beacon goes off. But you must be on a main channel. Does everyone get that now by this point in time? So right in here, see, next beacon is in 13 minutes and 39 seconds. If I just went ahead and clicked this once, wait a second, click it again, and I can manually send it off within that 15-minute time interval. This is basically where you want to get propagation reports. And I've done this in the past. So let's say I'm trying to connect with someone in Texas, and what I'm trying to do is find out whether or not it's feasible. And so we'll do a beacon report to each other, try to get the signal to noise ratio report to know whether or not we're under 15, minus 15 dBs. And if we are, we'll go ahead and try to do a direct connect after that. So again, great way to make a contact through a direct call is through the beacons. A ping. What is a ping function? It's not like FT8, and yet it is like FT8. It's an FT8 experience, but it's not going to show up on the screen. It shows up on your logs. So it's basically exchanging reports. when I hit the ping, I kept hitting the ping and going, okay, I don't see any information. Where's the information? It's in the logs. So I'll show you that here when I get into a little bit more here. But remember I talked about right mouse clicking? If I right mouse clicked on a call sign, highlight it, right mouse click, I can clear, I can copy, I can connect, I can ping. This is where I can get a report, or I can go over here and hit the ping button. Either way. So I can ping K04UGF Jim by hitting it here, or I can right mouse click here and ping somebody over here. Again, multiple ways to do it, either through a drop-down list over on this side or through either a beacon or a CQ. You can send Vmail. You can broadcast a reply. There's so much you can do with the right mouse click. QRZ.com lookup, which is really nice. I like to know where they are. So again, PSK Reporter lookup, and I'll get into that toward the end. So we're going to find the reports under logs, under under VarAC log. You'll find that FT8 quote experience. It doesn't look the same, but it is something that's out there. It disconnects after the report is sent, and if you want, you can have it set up to log and be reported to PSK Reporter if you have that connected in the initial. When I did the cat control setups in there at the bottom left, there is a checkbox, and I do it because I use PSK Reporter. I would recommend you do too. To broadcast a message, it's not private. Think of it as an all call. It's a message sent over the air. There's no acknowledgement. There's no guaranteed delivery. You just hit the broadcast over here. You type in the message, what you want, and it goes out. Now, who has value on this? If I am on, I have a group of people. We're off on one of the frequencies, custom frequencies I put in on a particular slot. It makes a lot of sense. A lot of people can have a net this way, or a group of people, and be able to do messaging through the broadcast side of it. So again, for direct calling, makes a lot of sense. This is what it's going to look like. I went ahead, typed this in. I hit broadcast or broadcast and close, and this is what the message looks like. It pops up down below. Again, group announcements, separated frequency lists, a slot number for the group. This is how you want to set it up for directed calls. Let's talk about the Vmail Workflow. This is when you're going to send, and this is more private message. Again, general message, even to a group on a particular channel. This is even better. So if you can get to this, to the point where you get used to sending Vmails, it's really nice. So how to send a Vmail, you can either do it indirectly or directly, and I'll walk you through all of this in here. So here we're going to want to do, remember on the far right side, remember I talked about all of this. This is on the far right middle part of the screen, send Vmail. And what I'm going to do is type into who I want to send it to. I do the subject, I put my message in, and I go ahead and next, if the person is not on, okay, the Vmail is going to come back and tell you are not connected to anyone at the moment. Your Vmail will be waiting to be sent in your outbox folder. Once connected to the destination, the Vmail will automatically be forwarded. So bottom line is I can still send it to him, and Jim's not on, but he gets on later and I'm on later, or someone else that I relayed it through another person, a third party. Once someone is connected where it's sitting in the outbox, either in a parking situation, or in mine, and then it gets relayed and he gets the Vmail. So hopefully that makes sense. You can actually see it's in my outbox waiting to go. So on the receiving end, it's going to say, hey, it's going to tell you if you have the voice on, you've got mail. And here's your new mail, Vmail in there. I can read, reply, and send. Those are my options. And so I go ahead, click it on. I'm going to pull up and open up the email. Very simple. I click on this window pops up. Here's my inbox. I click on the email that I want to read. It pulls the information up, and pretty simple, pretty intuitive. So next, if I want to reply, I can go ahead and reply back to them and then just hit the send function. So I can, again, read, reply, and then send. Does that make sense? So let's talk about relaying messages. So basically, when you hear parking, that's relaying. That's third person relaying the message for you. And it's optional by user. I don't have to allow people to use my rig, because I tell you, when you're relaying a message, you can be sitting there and your rig goes on without you knowing it. It's probably relaying a message. Or your beacon report is going off every 15 minutes and you just sit there and you hear rig start to go into a transceive mode. So again, this is where if you don't want it, you can uncheck it. But if you want it, this is where you want to make sure it's checked. With the relay features, here's the relay box, and here's the relay notifications telling you. And it should show you also in the parking. If I'm trying to relay a message for someone else, it's going to show up under the parking as one message or two or whatever. But again, be careful when relaying. This is another ham's rig we're going to be taking over. So I usually try to relay through people I know. We were trying to relay messages through people that were just, showing up on the beacons. And I was actually interrupting a guy who was in some other calls that were going on. And we were taking over his rig and it was transmitting. And he was really gracious about it. But again, do it to people that you know and expect it and allow it. So again, real quickly here, parking, that's a relay. And you can either send and disconnect when you're trying to do this. So now I'm going to get into what is known as key terms. Okay, when we're talking about the I'm away function, what is I'm away? Well, I'm away, when enabled, basically allows me to be on, but in an inactive state. I can send messages, I can allow pings, signal noise reports, but anyone trying to connect to me directly is going to get a message saying I'm not available. Your partner seems to be away. Would you like to leave a message in the mailbox? Leave a message. I love this function. So something you might want to consider if you're stepping away and you're expecting some messages coming in or relaying messages for others, make sure that's clicked. So Vmail works even when you're not at the desk, but it's in the I'm away mode. Now, when you're sending files and pictures, it's not robust enough like WinLink HF, but it is something that can be there. So if I was connected, it wouldn't be gray, it would be blue. So you must be connected to send a file. It's not going to go into someone's parking. So you must have a greater signal to noise ratio. So what does that mean? Again, this is where you're going to have to try it, but I wouldn't, listen, -5 or, up to, 0 and going up is where I'd consider doing it. I wouldn't do it anything less than that. For me, if I was trying to send to somebody, I'd hope I'd be at least 0 dB or above. You can do low resolution pictures, black and white type of things. There's no form capabilities like WinLink HF does, because I'm not sure if you're aware, but when you're doing like WinLink and you're sending these forms that are back and forth, the forms are not being sent. The data within the forms are being sent from one template form to a blank template form on the other side. Since this doesn't do forms, it doesn't do. It has no form capability whatsoever. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Again, when you're going to do this, move off to off the main calling frequency list. Go to a slot number. Definitely you're going to have the upgraded version on this. And you can actually send these images at 2300 versus the 500, but you're not to talk or do normal, I call it a VarAC type of business on the 2300. It's basically dedicated for sending files. And here you can see the setting, 500 or 2300. So 2300 is you're not going to be on the main calling frequency. You're going to be off the main calling frequency on a slot or a different frequency, and you're going to be using the 2300 if you have the paid license. Now on the CQ workflow, making a CQ call, all you have to do is simply click the CQ button. It's as simple as that. You're going to be on a main channel, remember, and then the slot sniffer is going to pop up, and this is what the slot sniffer looks like right in here. You can hit the hold, and if this turns green, it's showing it's like slot 15, green, good to go. I can pick a different slot, hold down the slot sniffer. If it turns green, it means that slot's not busy and you're good to go. So you're trying to find something that's open. Respondents will be on that slot number automatically. So if someone responds to you and did a CQ and I'm saying slot 15, they're going to respond. They're going to respond back, moving off the main channel to slot 15. This is why you don't have to do the manual process. This is, again, really, really nice way of doing it. So simply click call CQ. Simple. Call CQ, slot sniffer, pick the right slot channel, and hit send. That's all you have to do. So let's kind of receiving a CQ call. All you have to do, best practice, is just double click a call sign of a sender, okay? So you can right mouse click and you can do all of the stuff that you want in here, which is, I do it because this is all these functions that operate within here. I might want to, before I respond, I might want to look them up, for example, to go in there, or look at their call sign history if I talked to them before or whatever. But if I just simply just double click this without right mouse clicking it, it's going to connect me. Make it simple. And here's to be able to see all of this in a little more of a breakdown position. They're at slot 1. Their signal to noise ratio of -18, iffy. Okay, I'm going to tell you that right now. So I can manually change, but use the automated process is much easier to do it. Now, I want to stay connected, but move to an agreed slot change. Let's say we're both on an existing slot, and I want to change even from that slot change. You can do that. To both rigs. You can both change your frequencies, and you can also change your slot numbers while connected. So I can go over here, for example, and I'm talking to, KE4TP. I'm connected to that person. I can just make a request for a slot change on here and move the slot. So changing frequencies. So let's say I have an existing connection. All I have to do is go over here and hit this pound sign. So let's say, Jim at KO4UGF, we're already talking, and the 40 meter band is starting to fade, and we want to jump, or let's say the 80 meter band is fading, we want to go to the 40 meter band. All I have to do is hit this button here. I'm going to type in let's say 7.105, and I leave the 750 in there because that's basically slot 11. And I type in 7.105, and I can go ahead and just send QSY invitation. KO4UGF will get it, Jim will get it, and he can accept it. And both of us are all of a sudden now moved from 3.595. We're now moved to 7.105 at slot 11, or whatever frequency you want to type in here on that. And you can do a frequency sniffer if you want to do the same thing, just to make sure, especially if you're going back to main channels, you're going to want to put that in there. But this is a way to change a frequency within a direct call. I think that is so cool. Simply just type it in, send a QSY invitation. Nice. Now I can also move up and down one slot by using the up and down keys over here on the side. So I want to go up slot, one slot down, and it can make a request the same way too. So single slots, frequency change. Think of this as single slot, frequency change to a connected person. Now, PSK Reporter, love it. This allows you, and again, the link will be in the description below, but you have to put on, for example, I got 20 meters. I want show my signal. My call sign I'm putting my call sign in here. I'm using VarAC. I'm looking at the last 3 hours. I hit go, and it's going to show me up here. Anytime you see these numbers right in here, last 2 hours, whatever, you can click that on and get more information. But these are the people that I'm reaching on 20 meters, and these are the other people that are using that frequency that are on VarAC at the time. I'll take you through about a 7-minute demo trying to tie everything together we just spoke about. So let's get over to the VarAC screen now. Okay, let's get into a quick demo here. Try to keep this to about 8 minutes as possible. We talked about the version. This is VARA 7.17 up here on the header bar. What we have here is settings, and under settings I can look at, for example, my rig control information. That's how I pull it up. Just quickly make sure your PSK Reporter is checked if you're using it. Feel free to hit these question marks. They give you a quick hit about the function and feature of each of these different options within the settings setup. Hit save and exit. Next, I'm going to take you over to logs. This is where the VarAC logs are. When you do your ping reports, that's where they're going to show up. Resources, make sure you use the quick start guide and the user manuals. They give you a lot of great information, and you don't have to go searching on the web. It's all built in. Again, whoever thought of this did a well thought out job in trying to put this together and make it user friendly as possible. But they give you so many options that until you learn the best practice of how to use this thing, it can seem overwhelming. So let's just kind of talk about the drop-down frequency list right in here. These are the main calling channels that all the activity wants to be on. When you add your own additional frequencies, you're not going to distinguish the one for the main calling frequency from your own. So I suggest you write these down and keep them over by your rig so that when you want to do the QSOs on the main frequencies, calling channels, that you know which ones they are. So we'll leave it at on the 20 meters. The slot here, I can just drag that over. At slot 3, once I started doing that, I can basically use the arrow buttons on my keyboard, and let's say I'm at slot 1. So here's your calling frequency, here's your slot number, this is the actual frequency for slot 1, and I can return to the main calling frequency by just clicking that little button. If I wanted to do a direct contact, all I have to do, for example, in here, is I can type in, let's see here, KO4UGF, and that's Jim, and then I would just hit the connect button, and Jim could accept the request if he was on, and that's how you do a direct connect. Very, very simple. If you are dealing with if you look over here in the beacons, and over here is your CQs, look at these like minus 18 and minus 19. Those are the ones that if you try to connect to them, it's going to get hung up because it's packet. It's just going to try to resend it over and over again. And again, if you're on the main calling frequency, it's going to kick you off pretty quickly. But if you're in a slot, like for example, let's say I went to slot 1 and I'm trying to, or slot 5, for example, it's not going to disengage as fast as you are on the main channel. So this thing can go on for 3 or 4 minutes. And so if I requested for Jim to meet at 14.101 slot 5, or excuse me, 14.105 slot 5, he agreed to get on there, and I'm trying to connect to him, and we're getting into this cycle of packets not making its way all the way through. It's going to get hung up. So you're going to want to hit the disconnect or the abort, one of these two. Try the disconnect first. If that doesn't, hit the abort and just stop it. But that's going to happen when you're dealing with really bad signal to noise report issues. If someone's like, at a minus 8 or a 5 or a 2 or 0, 0 or 1, you're hardly ever going to use the disconnect. So it's basically I call a bad loop cycle due to the bad signal to noise report. Hopefully that makes sense in here. So you understand how to do that. To call CQ, just hit call CQ, and I walked you through that whole process. That's simple there. Beacon is paused, but if you hover over the beacon, again, like with that question mark, it's going to give you information about that. Ping, the same thing. Connect for an SNR report only. So remember, you're not going to see it on the screen. You got to go into the logs to find that. So I think we pretty well covered this. Over here, you can right mouse click on anything, and you can look at all of the options, whether you want to do a connect. Best practices, if you want to connect, just double click this or double click over in the CQ, and it's going to get connected. But you may want to do a QRZ lookup, for example, here. And this is going to show you where I got Cameron Hurd from Austin, Minnesota. If you're watching this, hey, send me a message. But essentially, what that does is allow you to be able to see who you're going to connect with if you want to do it before you even do it. So again, right mouse click a lot of these things, double click right away to get engaged quickly without having to go over here and try to hit the connect button. So we went through this. You see the signal to noise ratio column here, and you see the slot number. So for example, if I was trying to connect to this CQ in here, by agreeing to that, I'm agreeing to be automatically moved over to slot 11. That's how that works. And that person is long gone. It's been over an hour. But if I just double clicked it, the connecting process would begin. On Away is a great feature if you just want to monitor what's going on, or you're stepping away and you still want to receive emails, leave that on, or relay messages for your buddies, put that on, otherwise turn it off. Mute all sounds is interesting. It's great if you're away, but if you're right in front of it, it can get annoying after a while. Beacon is paused, so let's go ahead, send beacon. It's going to, send beacons is going to go back on. For some reason, it's not showing up on that, but anyhow, we'll come back to that. If I look down and through here, this is where you send Vmail, do general broadcast over here, and PSK Reporter map comes up. If I wanted to change frequencies within a connected call, the pound button. If I wanted to change slots within a connected call, down or up, those two arrows, remember that. This is your review area right in here. So you're going to get your transmission text and your receiving text are all going to happen in here. This is your broadcast screen, and again, you can move it, to whatever size that you want. I usually make it smaller. Type in messages right in here, so I can test, 1, 2, 3, hit send. From down in here, hit enter, and if I'm connected, the message goes over. I can also choose if I wanted to, instead of typing in, I can just send my info, and I can hit send, and that will go over. But at the very end, what you really want to deal with is this one. It's called 73s. You want to hit 73 at the very end, and what that's going to do is basically it's the disengage command that goes out saying, thanks, bottom line, gone, this QSO is over. So again, just a quick highlight into this. Hopefully the earlier explanation makes a lot more sense now that I went into, and I think you're going to be able to grasp this now that you've been able to watch this video. So if you have any questions, put it in the comments below. Otherwise, let's get back and wrap this thing up. So when we do the setup document that I have out there that you want it, just ask hamradiomadesimple.com to say, hey, MJ, I want the VarAC. You got to specify the VarAC setup document. And I'll also send you other information too that's good, like frequencies and the other stuff. But if you send that, I take you through step by step and how to set all this up, and particularly the problem with this, with the VarAC app, it doesn't automatically create a desktop icon. And I walk you through how to create a desktop icon and be able to put it on. Otherwise, you load it the first time you use it, and then you go try to find, okay, where's the application? How do I find it? It can be quite frustrating. So in quick summary here, main channels, high activity, CQ, beacons all have to take place. Be patient. There's a long learning curve on this. I gave you a lot of information. I'm sure your head is just filled with an overload mode. Go ahead, try it for a little bit, open it up, practice with it, watch the video a second time after you practicing it and trying to do it, and it'll all start to make sense to you. It's excellent for directed calls. You can do Vmails, you can relay messages. It has the away feature. You can send files, and you can add additional frequencies to get off the busy channels to have more, I call it private type of directed contact calls. But again, must be connected for features to work. It took me a while to understand. A lot of grayed out areas means I'm not connected. So next video I'm going to try to do is JSA call, and more. There's a lot of them out there. I understand that. It's going to be directed for new hams, and for those who are trying to look at the prepping side of it, there's some cool features that you can do that I don't see in any of the other videos. I'm going to try to pull those out and be able to present that to you. I want to do a VarFM and be able to show how you can do VarAC on FM and VarFM also. So both of those are, actually should be 2 videos in there. Any suggestions of things that you would like, please let me know. I'd love to do it. Again, I appreciate if you stayed all the way through this video. Again, hit the like and the subscribe button because you're a loyalist if you've done this or really dedicated to learning. Thank you for the comments. I really, really appreciate it. So this is MJ, KW3KW with Ham Radio Made Simple, out.